We are joined now by Professor Mary Majumder of Baylor College of Medicine. You are co-moderating a session at the conference. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
This session is called Policy Challenges Affecting Clinical Integration of Next Generation Sequencing, Advancing Towards Resolution. Give us a little overview of the session.
Well, from a policy perspective, the defining feature of next generation sequencing is its potential to produce a lot of information. And as the scientists and clinicians here know, a lot of that information is hard to interpret given our current knowledge. So if you have children, you're probably familiar with the concept of too much information, or TMI. And I'd say the overarching theme of our session is how do we use the available policy tools to ensure that clinicians and patients receive all the high quality, helpful information that they can, but also use those policy tools to protect them from TMI, information from poor quality tests and information that they can't make sense of.
What are some of the policy challenges?
Well, so I was part of a project that looked at three primary areas: regulation, intellectual property, which is part of the financial piece, and also reimbursement. And we were very fortunate to have an expert panel. We did what's called a policy Delphi process. We had a diverse group of experts from different stakeholder groups, and they helped us identify and rank policy challenges in each of those areas, and then we asked them to help us identify and rank potential solutions to those challenges.
Wow. And when you look at those challenges, can you give us an update on where those things stand now?
Well, first, in the area of regulation, it was actually really difficult to pin down a specific challenge as most important because the pace of policy evolution in that area is so quick. For example, right in the middle of our first survey, the FDA published a proposed framework for regulation of laboratory-developed tests. And I'd say our panelists were pretty evenly split between those who favored primary reliance on FDA to address issues of test quality and those who preferred to rely on professional societies, such as the College of American Pathologists, to address those issues. In the area of intellectual property, the issue of existence of proprietary databases was always ranked at the very top in terms of importance. But interestingly, it ranked dead last in terms of the feasibility to fix that issue. So people were skeptical that an easy solution would be possible. I think many people know of Myriad Genetics. That's sort of become the poster child for this particular issue. So in 2013, the US Supreme Court invalidated Myriad's patents on the BRCA1 and 2 genes. But that left Myriad with a wealth of information about mutations for patients that it had already sequenced and continued to sequence. So that's over 1 million. And that really gives them a great competitive advantage. So you can understand why they wouldn't want to just give that information away. At the same time, a lack of access to that information impedes the efforts of others to interpret findings for their own patients, and it also impedes efforts at independent verification of test quality. So our panelists favored making data sharing a requirement for regulatory approvals and for laboratory accreditation. Of course, that may be challenging to implement, and they also favored using positive economic incentives to get laboratories to share. For example, paying more to laboratories that agree to share their data. And let's see, that leaves me with reimbursement, right? Which is really an important issue to the community because you'd like to get paid for the work you do.
Certainly.
So in that area, our panelists identified as the top challenge differing evidentiary standards across payers related to assessment of clinical utility, leading to very inconsistent policies on coverage and reimbursement. And again, that might be somewhat challenging to address, but overall, our panelists favored trying to get multidisciplinary panels together, including payers, clinicians, patients, to develop some recommendations regarding evidentiary standards.
A lot going on in your industry. It sounds like a very informative session. Thank you so much for joining us.